The day Ngozi gave birth was supposed to be one of joy. Two healthy baby girls, identical twins, born just before sunrise, fair-skinned, pale-eyed, silver lashes and delicate like glass. The hospital staff rejoiced. The nurses smiled. The midwife even danced. But Papa Ebuka, he froze at the door of the hospital room. He looked at the babies, then at Ngozi, then back at the babies. Nah, which kind of juju be this? Who gave birth to white children in my name? The nurses exchanged glances. One tried to explain, "Sir, they're albino twins. It's rare, but it happens, even in families with no history." "Shut up there. Do you know my family history more than me? There is no albino in my bloodline." His voice thundered through the corridor. He accused Ngozi of sleeping with white men, or half-castes in the neighborhood. "Ngozi, who did this to you? Is it that light-skinned tailor near the junction?" He brought up the tailor who once said Ngozi looked beautiful. He mentioned the church choir master. Even the doctor who delivered the twins was not spared. When Ngozi tried to explain, tried to reach for his hand, he pulled away with disgust. "Tell me the truth. You brought shame into my house." Neighbors gathered. Some begged him to calm down. Others whispered, "Eya, twins na blessing, oh, whether yellow or black." But Papa Ebuka wasn't hearing it. He packed his Ghana must go and left. Any woman that gives birth to such cursed children has demons in her blood. And just like that, Papa Ebuka vanished, as if he had prepared to do so from the beginning. He did not look back. He left no money, no pampers, just dust on his sandals and shame in his voice. Ngozi was left with nothing but two newborns and a rented one-room. Face me, I face you. Ngozi faced ridicule from all sides. Women at the water pump whispered, "I heard she gave birth to Oyibo twins. They said it's spiritual, or punishment for cheating." Children pointed when Amaka and Adiza were toddlers. "See ghost babies. Their eyes are scary. Why do they look like that?" But Ngozi stood tall, braiding hair by day, frying puff-puff by night, while her babies slept on a little mattress on the side. She would cover the twins in scarves during the dry season, massage their sensitive skin with shea butter, and tell them, "You are not cursed. You are crowned. One day they will call you special." Life wasn't easy. Amaka and Adiza were mocked at school. Oyibo, sunlight twins, blind bats. But their mother told them, "God doesn't make mistakes. You too. You're born to shine." And shine they did. Ngozi made sure every penny she earned went towards her daughter's care. Despite the hardship, she made sure her daughters walked to school in hand-me-down, but clean uniforms. Their books were used, but their determination never faded. Ngozi took special care of their skin and hair. The twin girls were always well-groomed. Ngozi sacrificed her own diet to ensure her daughters did not eat anything that could jeopardize their already fragile health. They were beautiful and brilliant. Adiza was top of her science class, always asking how the human body worked. She was so bright that the teachers chose her to tutor students who were struggling in anatomy and physiology classes. Amaka? Tall, graceful, always striking poses in front of the cracked mirror, tying her scarf like a runway model. One day at the market, a Lagos fashion scout saw Amaka and begged Ngozi for a chance. 2 years later, her face was on billboards from Lekki to London. Designers from Paris to Cape Town, Milan to New York now fight for a spot on Amaka's calendar. From haute couture houses to luxury skincare brands, everyone wants her face on their brand, her walk on their runway. She's not just a model, she's a movement. an icon of grace, resilience, and the kind of beauty that once made people whisper, now makes them applaud. And standing beside her, Ngozi, the same woman who once sold Puff Puff to buy school books, the same mother they called cursed. Now, she's Amaka's manager, stylist, and protector, fielding calls from Vogue, Essence, and Chanel. She walks the backstage like royalty, head high with a clipboard and jail that turns heads. And the people who once mocked them, they now push through red carpet crowds, phones in hand, screaming, "Auntie Ngozi, just one selfie. Amaka, over here, please. Please tag me. My daughter wants to be like you." But Ngozi remembers. She remembers the days they crossed the street to avoid them. She remembers the whispers. Abomination, mistake, pity. Now they whisper something else. That's Ngozi and Amaka. Oh, God really lifted them. And Amaka, she smiles, graceful as ever. But deep in her eyes, there's a quiet fire that says, "The sun you feared would burn you is the light that made me shine." Meanwhile, in Enugu, Papa Ebuka had remarried. His new wife gave him 2 sons, boys he praised like princes. But pride is like palm oil. It stains everything. The boys grew up, entitled and reckless. One was arrested for internet fraud. The other got a girl pregnant at 17, then ran off to join a betting syndicate in Ghana. His second wife ran away with a gospel singer who sold herbal medicine on the side. Papa Ibuka left with his ego and a poorly constructed bungalow. Diabetes took his leg, his eyesight faded, his phone barely rang. And when he fell ill, bedridden and broke, he remembered the daughters he rejected. "Do you know if my daughters are still alive?" he asked a neighbor. The man looked at him and said, "Alive? One is healing people in Abuja. The other one is taller than electricity poles and wearing diamonds in Dubai. You know they watch TV?" And so, trembling, he was wheeled to a government clinic in Abuja, hoping, praying for a miracle. At the clinic, nurses rushed to stabilize the old man, and just before the doctor entered, he heard heels approaching. He looked up. It was Adeza, now a fully certified dermatologist, graceful in her white coat, hair neatly braided, face glowing. Papa Ebuka opened his mouth, confused. "Ada, is it you?" She paused, professional, calm, unshaken. "I go by Dr. Adeza now. You can call the nurse if you need help." He began to cry. He begged for forgiveness, told her about the sickness, the loneliness, how life had punished him. She listened, but there were no tears in her eyes. "You said we were curses. You told the world we were mistakes. But today it is your mistake that is breathing because of me." He choked, begged, tears rolling down. "Forgive me. I didn't know. I thought you were cursed." She stared at him, then gently said, "You didn't care to know, Papa. You let fear speak louder than love." She took a breath, then added for the entire room to hear, "Albinism is not a curse. It is a genetic condition when the body produces little or no melanin. We are not ghosts. We are not spiritual attacks. We are human. We feel the same sun. We bleed the same red. The real curse is ignorance." The room went quiet. One nurse clapped. Another whispered, "God bless her." Papa Ebuka, now weeping in shame, tried to touch her hand. "You're my daughter," she pulled back gently. "We were always your daughters. You just chose not to see us until the world did." She turned and left, coat swaying behind her. Papa Ebuka still receives monthly care. But every visit, every pill, every blanket is paid anonymously. He sometimes stares at fashion magazines, where Amaka smiles in gold heels and crown. He calls the nurse and says, "That one, that's my daughter." The nurse usually just nods, but deep down they all know he's only proud now because the world is watching. Moral of the story: albinism is not a spiritual issue. It is a natural genetic condition found in all races, including African communities. People with albinism deserve love, protection, and dignity, not rejection, abuse, or stigma. Baba Ebuka let shame blind him, but his daughters saw clearly, even when the world mocked their glow. Because in the end, the same curse he rejected became his only lifeline. Children are not receipts. They are responsibility. And if you plant wickedness in your youth, don't expect peace in your old age, because sometimes the rejection you gave freely becomes the silence that buries you. Subscribe now to hear what others won't say and share the tales that still echo in your own heart.